meeting of the Board of Supervisors of Penn Township, Wednesday, July 31st, 2013, will now come to order. We will stand for a pledge of allegiance and a moment of silence. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated. This time we have the recognition of visitors. Helen?
You got a couple on the agenda?
Alpha Construction, Todd Wilson.
Yeah, actually, it's Alpha Consulting Engineers. Thank you, Mr.
Sorry.
Chairman. We've only been here for 8 years, but the reason we're here is to discuss the Stone Mill Estates property, Mr. Chairman. Todd Wilson's with me, and also Johnny Andrews from Nisa Wallach, and also a representative from Mr. Yanks' company. The reason we're here is we kind of getting bounced back and forth between the Planning Commission, you, and the Warden property. We're going to kind of bring things to a conclusion. Just a couple items we need your input on. We were at the Planning Commission a couple weeks ago, and there's 3 waivers that really impact the plan, and we really need your input on that. So I'll ask Max to jump in as he thinks is appropriate, but we have 2 minor waivers in terms of detention basin slope, which is necessary for DEP approvals. We also have a minimum road slope for a collector street, and then the real key waiver we need your input on tonight is to have private streets for more than 3 lots. I understand that you've talked to Mr. Yanks and you indicated you wanted private streets as opposed to public streets, Mr. Holman. So if you could give us input on those 3 items, that will allow us to move forward and get this thing, moving forward. So basically, we have the 2 minor waivers I asked Mr. Shravely to comment on in terms of detention basin slope, which is a DEP requirement, minimum slope for a collector street, and the real critical issue is to have private streets as we're considering for more than 3 lots. We need those 3 waivers to get your input on that. The Planning Commission indicated they would be supportive of these 3 waivers. The 3rd waiver, they said they'd be supportive of that as long as we had the homeowners association being charged, not the individual lot owners. So in order for us to move forward, it's really important that we get your feedback on these 3 things, sir.
Okay. First off, I would like to offer some comments on some of your comments. I had went to the Planning Commission after we reviewed plans originally and suggested the Planning Commission on behalf of the township due to the design, the way that was. This is when I was working with Forest yet, and the Cape Forest was there. But the township had no interest in taking over that private road. And we come back and we made that announcement here at a meeting. Take it over as a township road. Okay, due to the drainage and the maintenance and et cetera, which I explained and gave my reasons. We came back here, that announcement was made at a township meeting. The next plan I saw, that showed up on the plans that there was going to be a homeowners association. Conversation with Mr. Yanks when he called me did not pertain to anything in regards to this, other than I still stand by on the storm drainage on the roads, that I don't think the township should be involved because there's a cost. Some of those manholes and that stormwater management, 16, 18 foot deep, we really don't have the manpower and et cetera to take it. That was the reasoning given, and there was a citizens group come in here, took a look at the plans. They wholeheartedly agreed with me that the plans, by golly, they agreed with me, in regards to that. So that's where I stand on that. And I see on the plans that you've submitted, you said that you're willing to take it over as a homeowners association. So I don't know what else we could comment on, than you've already agreed to do that on your preliminary.
Okay, great. So in terms of our waiver request for the private streets, you would support that?
In regards to not being a township road.
Correct. So would the board support our waiver request to have private streets?
And that brings up the next question. Yes, go ahead.
It's a yes or no question, sir.
Yeah. I would. I can't speak for the other 2.
Do we have a comment from the other board members on that one? The other 2 are kind of pro forma ones.
Yeah.
We have to kind of do that for DEP and some other stuff. And Max, please comment if you would, sir. But I think the key one, let's start with that one then, sir. So you would support our waiver request for private streets more than 3 lots?
Okay. And let's get back to this. Haven't talked to the Planning Commission. They came before this. This went before Max. Max's comments are back. Max's comments now need to go to the Planning Commission.
Well, he's already made his comments to planning commission, sir.
Okay, then let you, and talking to the planning commission, they feel that it comes back to them next.
Max, do you support our waiver request for private streets?
Well, I think the waiver request is the Board of Supervisors has the option of making that waiver request. As far as whether it should be private or public, they've detailed their reasons. I think the roadmaster has detailed his reasons from a maintenance perspective and a cost perspective, the hardships for the township. Therefore, it seems that there's been some hardships expressed, and I think they probably have the right to grant that waiver that you've requested.
So do you support the waiver request, Max, as an engineer for the township?
I have no opinion on it one way or the other,
Okay.
not on the waiver of the private streets.
Okay, so you're neutral on the waiver request? Okay, but I would ask the board, because in order for us to keep going forward with the plan set, we need to know if you support that waiver, but it's very important to us, because the qualifications are a lot different for private or public streets. We understand that the chairman's in favor of private. I mean, is the board in favor of private streets, and would you grant that waiver so we can move forward?
I thought we already had this discussion,
And what was the result of it?
that it was private streets and not township streets.
Okay, so the board would support that waiver request that we have in front of the township now?
Indulge me, how is the waiver worded versus the requirement in the ordinance?
There's a requirement in the ordinance under section 401A5, and Max or your solicitor can jump in if they wish. We want to, based on the comments from the board, we've submitted a waiver request to have private streets for more than 3 lots in a subdivision, okay? So we need you to answer that question so we can move forward. And we are willing to have the homeowners association take care of the streets and as per the planning commission's request.
You go back in to take a look at the planning commission minutes. It was offered that the second aspect of the AOR is the verbiage of the request, offered that the way the request is written, it would not have a favorable answer. And it was suggested that the request be restructured to identify that the streets are to be private and classified as a non-public homeowner association owned and maintained.
And we agree to that, sir.
Okay? And you agree to that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Then the other issue that comes up is after that, now we have it in our ordinance that private roads can only have 3 homes on them. And that raises another issue as to whether there can be another agreement made for your development. That's why I say that needs to go back to the planning commission for further discussion.
They have told us, sir, if I may, that assuming the homeowners association would take over the streets, they would recommend approval to this board. So I'm asking you tonight, assuming the verbiage is correct, your solicitor agrees and your engineer agrees, would you grant that waiver so we can move forward?
I still understand it from the planning commission that they'd like to see this back before we act on anything.
Sir, that's incorrect. They told us if we change the language to have the homeowners association take care of the roads, they would recommend approval. So we're kind of.
And has that language got back to them?
It has not, but I will tell you right now, if that language is acceptable to your solicitor and your engineer, will you grant that waiver?
Well, then it has to be looked at by the solicitor and the engineer, if you say it's acceptable. I haven't seen it, and neither has anybody else.
Well, I'm telling you right now, sir, we will stipulate that the homeowners association will take care of the streets pursuant to your engineer and your solicitor approving the language. Will you accept that waiver so we can move forward, sir?
You're getting into a matter that I'm going to refer to the solicitor.
No, but I think what we should do is, first of all, put in writing exactly what you're asking for. Then we can take a look at it, and then we can respond accordingly. The request that you're making, I think, in principle, is being met with a favorable response. I think where the reluctance is that the alteration requirement request, I think, is under Article 8 of the ordinance, requires it to be placed in writing so we see exactly what you're asking.
Okay.
The number of, the length of the streets, the number of lots on the streets, et cetera. And once we see that in writing, and we can act on that, I think you'll probably get a favorable response as it relates to the concept. But I think what we need now is the specific language.
Okay. So just so we know, so I can report back to Mr. Yink, sir, if your solicitor and engineer agree to the verbiage, Will this board, in your opinion, approve that waiver?
I think in principle, what you heard was that they would look favorably upon it, but we need to see in writing exactly what you're proposing.
Is that correct, Mr. Chairman?
I agree with what the solicitor said, but we have to see it. We have to have it here.
Okay, but I just want to know,
You know, you have to
Between us
bring it
tonight.
back. That's why I say you're asking for something that can't be given just yet.
I just don't want to waste any more of your time after 8 years.
Yeah.
We're going back and forth for 8 years. We want to resolve this one way or the other, so. So you're saying if your solicitor and engineer
No,
would
I
approve
think,
the verbiage?
I think, sir, the ball is in your court.
And your
Okay.
call.
In principle, they're telling you they'll act favorably. Specifically, they can't act until you have the exact language in writing that we can take a look at.
Okay, so if we would submit that tomorrow to your
The ball
engineer and
is in your
solicitor,
court, sir.
we can come back next month and get your answer then?
Absolutely.
Get that to the solicitor, get it back to the planning commission, we can take a look at it.
Okay, how about the other 2 minor waivers? Any comments on those?
Well, the three,
What's the, I'm interested in the first one, the 2%, that's a.
That's a DP regulation.
Yeah,
Is that correct?
they're using it for sediment and infiltration requirements.
So
That's a requirement, and I would support that one.
you're content
Technically.
with section 507E8, that being granted from an engineering standpoint? How about the other one as it relates to the 10% slope?
Actually, that's in concert with your zoning hearing board already granted a waiver on that, so it's kind of both.
Yeah,
You
you're
support
not,
that also,
you're not
Max?
exceeding the 10% that was.
That's
granted
correct. You support that one?
By the zoning hearing.
That was
So I-
the
Granted.
decision,
no support
yes.
in
That's
the
already granted. by the
Okay, so
zoning.
we need to get the specific language to your staff, sir, so you can make a decision then.
yes, and while you're here, Rich, the item number 4 on here, I know is a concern for them, that they're gonna have private streets. Now they have more than 3 lots on private streets. What for agreement does it take for a private road? I mean, so the
Well,
next.
there's gonna have to be
And another.
there's gonna have to be express language on the
That's
plan.
correct.
There's gonna have to be an express
Absolutely.
agreement
Yeah.
that gets recorded,
And-
alerting all potential homeowners that it's a private street, what their respective responsibilities are. Township has no responsibilities, and that's gonna have to be all part of the plan.
And the planning commission is concerned that if they do that here, do they set a precedent, by golly, out here where someone else wants to put 3 on their.
It's a case-by-case analysis.
Case by case,
Exactly.
exactly. That's exactly what we're looking at.
Great.
We understand that.
Cool. All right, well, thank you very much. I may ask you if you would, sir, the only other thing, if we have a plan extension request under 7B, while we're up here, if you could, I don't know if you would change your agenda now to act on that, so we're here, we get out of your hair. It's up to you, sir.
Time extension for 1 month
1
until,
month, yes.
till the end of
Okay.
August.
And that was the planning commission's recommendation in order
Yes.
to get this done, to get this plan close to finalization. I'll make a motion that we grant the extension for 1 month.
I'll second that.
Motion made with second. All those in favor give their consent by saying aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it, so ordered.
Thank you very much. We'll get that information to your staff, sir.
Thank you.
It's a status of the plan.
preliminary.
Okay, thanks.
Denise is next on the agenda.
Okay, Denise Helbers.
I'm just here to see if you would take into consideration adopting an ordinance for high, weed control and tall grass. Now, I did submit, a letter and some pictures, and I have, I guess they're the same, of what's, what I'm dealing with, which is, habitat for rodents and pests, and we've already had snakes coming in, and I talked to the neighbor, they don't seem to be too concerned about it. Even if there's something that could be adopted within, 50 feet from the property line of another property, just, it's just a nuisance and an eyesore, with the property. I did actually find, an ordinance that was adopted. Now, this is in Snyder County, Penn Township, Snyder County, but they adopted something. And it's, I think, no more than 10 inches for the weed control, but it's just, I don't know what else to do or what can be done. But most of the townships and municipalities around the surrounding areas do have a type of ordinance for weed control. If there's something that, if you could take into consideration and try and adopt something, at least for within a property line of 50 feet.
Do you live in a residential area?
No,
What's his own district?
It's, well, we're in Penn Township, it's right by Sheets, as we're off of Burley,
What is that?
Burley Road.
Commercial.
You might want to have Helen check with some of the municipalities. The only hiccup is that you have to be careful, because if you make it township-wide, you're going to have some agricultural people screaming bloody murder because they may want to have whatever's growing.
I know, in some of the research that I did, there was some exceptions with agricultural crops, like that
Yeah.
was an exception with the ordinance, other than, most of it was with property, and you could make an exception for agriculture in there. I don't know if it's in this one, but I know there,
Yeah, I'd suggest perhaps maybe Helen contacts some surrounding municipalities, maybe even the state associations, if they have a model ordinance.
I'd like to let you know, Denise, at one time there was a committee formed, and they worked on this for a period of a long time, trying to get an ordinance like this. And what it boiled down, what brought it to the head, was a farmer's field, where there was a development surrounding it.
right,
And when he left to grow up in hay and left it sit there for quite a while, they didn't like it next door to him, right to him. Now, if they asked him to cut 50 foot around his crop, or not to plant it there, or et cetera. I've got complaints down here from 2 other places beside you at the present time, and the people have grain in their field. And it's right against their property.
Right.
It's weeds to them.
right. Well,
And-
that's where the exception maybe with the agricultural comes in, that could be the exception.
And
in
I
there.
did get down today and took a look at your problem. I was
Okay.
there. I'm going to take the liberty to get down, talk to neighbors, and see if they will not be willing to trim that back and cut that back.
Okay,
I
okay,
will do that. I think I know those people well enough that maybe they'll work with us to help alleviate the
Okay.
problem then. At the same time, we can take a look at that in a rural community and not in a municipality like Duncannon or Burley. Like Burley, you have house against house. It's
right.
everybody gets, you
Right, I
understand our
understand
problem.
that. And I'm willing to do some research and forward to Helen also,
Okay.
With
But
the agricultural,
when this came in today, I went down, took a look at it right away.
okay, all
That
right.
was there. But I didn't have time to stop in, but I will stop in the neighbor, so I realize your problem. And it is this one section here.
It's really
Okay,
bad.
and I'll see if we can't come up with some success with the neighbor.
Okay, I appreciate it.
Okay, I'll do that.
you.
Thank you, Denise.
Henry,
Yes,
well, I hear the same thing, that's about what I'm here for. I got a neighbor planted bamboo. I got more bamboo in my property than they do, and it's technically considered a weed by the federal government. I think we ought to have an ordinance, to stop it. Do you know how to get rid of bamboo?
well, I wish, Barry, I did. I've got so many problems with this, not only your place, but elsewhere in the township. It is something that people plant and
That's right, it's a technique to get rid of it. You gotta plant, put a barrier there, 42 inches deep, and it's gotta be metal to stop it.
And I know some other people that haven't been trying to get rid of it, right in the cove down there.
Yeah, well,
Really
that's-
having a tough time with it. How do you put something out there and tell people they
I
can't
mean, the
plant
federal government
something?
said it can't be planted as a borderline
Yeah.
thing. But it's right on the border, and I got more of it than they got.
Rich, any comments on that? It is a problem. Once it starts, you just can't control
Well,
it.
that's why I'm suggesting maybe take a look at what some of their municipalities have.
See what we got.
See if we can put an ordinance together that may
Bamboo's a
address all
problem, I agree.
those problems.
It'll grow over 20 inches a week.
Yeah. I've seen some examples where when it snows, it completely shuts our road down, falls across our road. Okay, thanks, Barry. I mean, that's a concern of mine too. Nicholas Seidler.
I had put in a request actually for a job and for the opportunity to do community service for Penn Township.
Okay, we looked at your application and looked at everything that you had brought in there, for community service. And I'd like to explain a little bit to you in our community service. I've done this 2 times with 2 young men out here. We bring community service people in here. We have no workman's comp. We have no insurance for them. They're not a paid employee, etc. The ones that I did have in here was for a short period of time. I spent 8 hours a day with them, to assure that the road crew and nobody else had them under supervision. I took the responsibility in case they got hurt. At the present time, I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't have 66 hours to spend with you continually for any community service. At the present time, I couldn't spare the time. And that's what I did in the past for two other young fellows. They only had a couple hours.
Right.
Not much time. They had served somewhere and they need a couple. And one was out here in the pavilion. I stayed with them the whole time during the pavilion, worried about the problem of someone getting hurt and whatnot. And I took that responsibility upon myself. Rich, you have any comments in regards to that? I mean, that's
No,
that's my concern.
I looked at the letter from Mr. Cedar. I think he should be commended for being upfront about the whole thing.
That's
I
my
appreciate
concern.
that, but I understand your concern in the event that there is some sort of incident where somebody gets hurt, et cetera, then we've got issues.
We
to
do not have the coverage.
I understand that.
And I appreciate your application, et cetera, if you were, and I don't know what's the rest of the board, they've looked at it, but I'm the one that has to
Right,
be there
okay.
with you. You know what I'm
Good luck
saying?
good luck in finding something.
I had to try.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay. Ready?
Yep, recognition of visitors, Helen.
Charles Tilkins.
No comment?
Wendy Reasoner?
No, not this one.
Mrs. Gauss?
No.
Well, there you are. Mr. Gauss? Stanley?
Anything on the comp plan, Henry, where are we at with that?
Yes, that's on, we got to set a hearing date.
And was there any public input on that at all for the comp plan?
The whole time we were going over, it was open meeting, anyone could have came to put their 2 cents in. The only person who showed up regularly was Mr. Gaiman. And that's, Gaiman, I'm sorry, Gerner. Gerner.
You're talking about at the.
Planning Commission.
Or at the planning commission?
Yes,
Right.
yeah. That's what the public hearing's for, comments. Anything else? Mr.
There has to
Fick?
be a public hearing, Stanley, on it before it can be adopted. And the public hearing is being held for the comments to be offered in regards to that comprehensive plan. Or if anybody wanted to offer comments on it while it's being developed, they were free to be at the meetings to do that. And there wasn't anything, only what John had to offer, and there wasn't much brought forward the whole way through in the comp plan that I know of. I mean, it was thrown out there and there was some discussion, but that's the purpose of the hearing, for the public comments to come out in regards to it before you can adopt it. Am I not correct, Richard?
Yes.
Yeah, I was reading Wheatville Township's meeting, and apparently they had either meetings or sent out questionnaires. So they talk a lot in there about what the public wants and suggested and asked for. Pretty interesting, pretty dry, but interesting.
Okay, yeah.
Mr. Fickle? Mr. Bradbury? Mr. Brown?
Yes. I have 2 things I want to discuss. The first thing is ordinances. I filed a complaint against my neighbor, Ms. Tashik, on 4/29/13, which was several months after her house burnt down. I called 2 months later to find out what the status of that complaint was, and nothing was done about it. Well, I can't remember who I talked to, but they said that they will go down, take pictures, and they will, start the paperwork to cite them and what have you. Since that time, about a month later, after I did that second call, I called for an update to say, did you send out a letter? What date did you send the letter out? I never returned, never got a call back. So my point is, if we have ordinances, what's the point of having them when they don't get enforced?
Clifford, I think you guys have been down.
We have. The place has actually been placarded. They have till, I believe, the end of September on their demolition permit to have that premise demolished. If they don't have it demolished by the expiration of the demolition permit, the township will come in at the township's expense and possibly demolish it and build them.
Okay, that sounds great in theory. However, there's nothing in our nuisance ordinance that, as far as I know and what I've talked to, I don't know if it was you or.
You've talked to me a couple times, Mr. Brown, yeah.
There was nothing in the ordinance that allowed us to go in there and demolish it and build them. So I guess the other thing would be, is there any way we can update our ordinances for an instance like this, when we have a house or a structure that's could be considered dangerous, where we're not just going to say we're going to fine you 30 days and hope it gets done. You know, there should be some wording in there that says you have X amount of days. If you don't get it taken care of, we're going to, township will go in, demolish it, build them. I mean, there's nothing in our ordinances that says that.
But they were issued a demolition permit for the purpose of removing it, and so I think you'll have to follow out the time frame on that demolition permit, and then you can take action on it. If they don't demo it like they promised or they got for the permit, they come in and ask for that. It was granted to them to demo it.
Okay.
And so, at that point, if they don't demo it, then you're looking at you can do something.
Okay.
I mean, there is enforcement there, but
I'm just saying, from what I
Yeah.
read through the ordinance, there was nothing.
you also
in it.
had to grant those people adequate time to tear it down, and if they choose to drag it out and not do it, then it comes into effect. You
Okay.
see what I'm saying?
All right.
Am I not correct
What
on
was
that,
the
Cliff?
date?
Rich?
The end of
Yes.
September.
End of September.
I don't know the exact number date off the top of my head.
You said September?
September, yes.
This September.
This September.
They've been well notified.
Okay, I'm satisfied. All right.
Yeah, they've been well notified. They have the opportunity to do it.
And a lot of the problem that we ran into is they were evicted out of where they were staying, so it took a while to hunt them down.
Okay.
But the property itself is the notice has been laminated and affixed to the property, and under the Uniform Building Code is where you have the authority to come
Okay.
in on an unsafe, hazardous condition. Township then has the right to petition to have it.
Okay, that answers my question about
Okay, yeah.
upgrading the ordinance. Okay, my second issue. I know it's been said before about the end of Firehouse Road, that's private. Where, all the way at the end where it becomes a dirt road. And I've heard this before, it's private, private right of way. I have 3 deeds that, I believe it's 202, and they're all mixed up number-wise, but the first house, second house, and third house. I don't have my house or the other house. But on each of these, they state it's bounded by the north by Wayne Avenue. I guess my question is, where's Wayne Avenue?
That's one of those paper streets.
Yeah, that's,
I went up to the county and I looked, and on their maps it says Firehouse Road goes all the way and then up and then all the way some more, but on your maps it doesn't have that. And so I wanted to do some research to find out what's the deal, and like I said, Wayne Avenue.
okay. Firehouse Road goes to the end of what liquid fuels tax and what we've taken over that's been deeded to us to where it ends. We receive liquid fuels monies for that distance. At one time or sometime, that was all the township agreed to take over. I know what you're referring to. I've seen those old plans of Perdix. There's street names all over the side of that mountain down there where there's not even streets or roads
Right.
to them. And I think that's probably one of Wayne Avenue. But to the best of my knowledge, as long as I can remember, Firehouse ends where it does as far as the township there at the end.
Okay.
That would be, there's a given distance from liquid fuels that will tell you how far it goes from the intersection 11 and 15. Be glad to come down and walk that, measure it with you, wheel it. We have a counter in the truck to show you exactly where it ends.
I know that's gonna be your response. My point is, there's 5 houses that utilize that road. And to me, if it says Wayne Avenue on my deed and all the other deeds, in my opinion, in my feeling, is that the township should, take responsibility for that.
For the road.
Yeah, for the road.
See, one of the difficulties you'll find not only in this township, but throughout Perry County and many other rural counties, and it goes back historically, decades, if not hundreds of years, is people will lay out developments, and they'll name streets in the developments, but they'll never dedicate the streets to the municipality to make them public in order to get the liquid fuels, to maintain them and repair them. They're called laid-out, undedicated streets. You'll find them all over the place. I was born and raised in the big city of Millerstown, and if you look at the maps, you'll see them all over the place.
Here's my basic question. How many people need to live on a street before it gets paved?
That's not the issue. The issue is who owns the ground over which the street has been built. And if it's a private street, never dedicated to the township doesn't have the authority to go in and do it. And therein lies the difficulty. Many people in your same kind of situation will buy property thinking it's on a public street, when if a little bit of extra research is done, you'll find out the street has not yet been dedicated. And as a result, if it's not a dedicated street, it's still private. If it's private, municipality doesn't have the authority to do anything with it.
Okay.
And I think you'll find Rich will agree to us that if there were to be one taken over by township, the way it stands today, we can't improve it. We can no longer going to do that like they used to do years ago. That would have to be brought up to township roads. Can't take a dirt road over anymore. It would have to be paved, and then the group would have to dedicate it to the township. Then it could be taken over.
Okay.
We don't have no choice. Legislative bodies in Harrisburg do that.
All right, that's all I have.
If it makes you feel any better, just a friend of mine discussed this with me. They live in Halifax Township. They had an alley, supposedly had an alley between their property and their neighbor, which they've been utilizing, and the neighbor has said it's their property, it's private property, and they're no longer allowed to use it, and they blocked it off. And when they researched it through the courthouse, they found the same thing. It was a paper street. It never belonged to the township. It was never a public road. So they're without an access. Oh, sorry. So you're not alone.
Barry, you have anything?
No, I've already
Okay.
discussed it.
And Denise, Todd's gone, they're gone. Mr. Marstella,
Yeah, I just wanted to bring up our ongoing saga with Mona Clover, however you say her name. And I seen my letter, or our letter was addressed. I don't know if it was Mona's letter to the township or our letter to the township. You know, we know it's not a township situation, and we just want to apprise the township of what's going on. We have, and the police have been out and have talked how to, it's becoming a police issue is what it is, and we've talked to Chief Pickles and to Cliff, and to find out, one, we sent a cease and desist order to stop her from coming onto the property, and two, which is what Chief Pickles had told us to do, and at this point then, it's a criminal act if she comes on the property. The next thing is the harassment from her, and that we sent a cease and desist order and sent to the police, and we're continuing to follow up with emails as harassment has continued. And to say that this woman is at most a parasite on society, I can understand that, and I could read the letter into the minutes, but I can understand that you have a complaint, and if she would have a legitimate complaint, I would fix it and move on. But before we even owned the property, she was calling us, complaining to see what her hours were. If you Google Mona Clove, what comes up is Penn Township meetings talking about us, the Barsteller Oil and Concrete Company. She has yelled at our employees. She shot her finger at employees. She put a smile sign on her porch because she was photographing everything. she literally, and over the past 2 days, she's out on her porch. Every vehicle that goes in and out of my driveway, she's photographing. She has called DEP over 100 times on us since we've been there. She's called the Perry County Conservation to say it was wetlands. It was determined not to be. When we put a above ground fuel tank in here, which was fully permitted and correct way in, within 2 days we had DEP show up saying we were putting in a fuel tank without permits. My son ran the loader, and within 1 day I had OSHA out saying a child was running equipment. I mean, there's a point to, and what our point is 17 families are being totally supported by that company and over 100 contractors. You know, we have never, out of those 100 visits or more, we have never been cited at all. We have never been fined, we have never been reprimanded, and we have spent a tremendous amount of money to be environmentally more friendly than we have to be. And I know this was brought up at a township meeting before. She was at the township meeting before, and it was said that it was not a township issue, it is a DEP issue or whatever her complaint is. And we have, I can tell you, I am on a first name basis with every department of DEP, and we have never been cited. We are fully in compliance, and they are happy with what we're doing. She will not be happy, and what my point was, our letter is I had the police come out and say, hey, she's sending a letter now to us, and it's not, I mean, it doesn't seem to be a police or a township issue because DEP regulates it. In the problem, what she is bringing up is continually air, and we complied with the air regulations, say we have to water the driveway, which we do. She then called DEP solid waste and said we were watering the driveway. I mean, I don't know how to work with. Like I say, we have tried everything, and I'm just saying I know it's not going to go away, but you know, on the township side, we are, and Henry, I know you're well aware of the situation and the person in Chicago. You know, we are trying, and we want to be good in Penn Township residents, you know, but I just wanted to let the Penn, I didn't know if the supervisors knew that we have a DEP person in there weekly because of a complaint. And DEP says, and they have told me, they wish she would lose the email address. But she doesn't, and what DEP says is, if we get a complaint, we got to come out. If OSHA gets a complaint, they got to come out. And every time, we have never been cited, ever, or reprimanded on our property. And with the air, what she's talking about, the little bit of dust that comes up, we are totally in compliance. And I'm past dealing with the people that come out. I'm dealing with the supervisors of the divisions. And they're telling me, Scott, you're 100% compliant, but she keeps calling. So I'm just letting the township know, and then she's now gone to the police and said it's a police issue, and she documents. I mean, I've seen a letter that the township has gotten where it documents hour by hour what we do on the property. We've moved trucks. We started moving dirt. She's come up, she's looked at our building permits. I mean, I mean, I can understand the nosy neighbor, but my God, I mean, she told my wife she had a nice ass. I mean, I mean, and my wife said she's not a lesbian. I mean, it's just.
I feel your pain, Scott. I felt some of it myself. It becomes, you know, you get these civil matters between someone and just.
And I'm just like,
puts us in a bad way. We've done everything that we could. She's filed the complaints. We've put it in proper perspective. You people have had DEP out there and you've been exonerated. There's no problem from us in the township. If there was, we would hear from DEP and we would know that you have to do something. We know where you're at. And
we just want to let you know that we're trying to be, and what we have gone through in the last 3 years of owning that property and trying to be, and that, you know, and what my point is we are supporting 17 full-time employees, and she is supporting 0. And you know, it just doesn't make sense. And all I want to let you know is, I know it's not a township or a, you know, but I just want to let you know we're trying our best. And if there's a legitimate thing that we need to fix, we will fix. But we have not been told that yet.
And I realize that, and I can state that when you first come in here, the complaints came before you even moved in, and I talked to you people, and I explained to you where you're going to end up with this thing. It's out of our hands, Clifford. You know, we've done as much as we can. I feel your pain, there's nothing that we know of with DEP or anybody else where you're not in compliance.
And that's all we need to do is keep the communication. If there's a legitimate issue, we're
understand
gonna
that.
fix it, but she's gonna whine no matter what.
Yes, and she, I gotta take those complaints, it comes directly to me and deal with them too, fellas, so you're not alone. I have to deal with them.
And if I may add something, Henry, Scott, we contacted DEP, because actually it would be them complaining about the harassment. Because
Okay.
they keep calling their officers over and over, and DEP says no. Believe it or not, we welcome people telling us stuff. Until DEP decides enough is enough, and as long as she stays off your property, and I will tell you, the day she got your letter, she called to complain about your letter. And I instructed her that she better read the letter very carefully, because if she does go on your property, she will be arrested, no ifs, ands, or buts. So she knows that, she knows to stay off your property. Another thing is, I know she got your letter because she called to tell us about it. So she can't now say, well, I was never told.
Well, we appreciate the police's support, and like I say, we're trying to be a good resident. We just don't want to get a bad image, you know, thinking that we're being bad township residents, you know, just understanding a little more. I just thought it was important for everyone to know a little more of what we go through on a weekly basis.
And if it makes you feel any better, believe it or not, you're not alone. She's complaining about other people too.
Well, one of our neighbors thanked us for moving in so that she would call about us and not them, so.
She has told me where to look for her body if she comes up missing.
Next. I feel your face, Scott, I'd like to move on with the
No
meeting.
problem.
Thank you. Helen, next.
Oh, yeah, Mr. Schultz.
I'm not sure how I follow that act. There's one in every municipality, isn't there? I'm here on behalf of Gary Robb, and since you've already punted the warden development issue at this point, we didn't want to be rude and just step out without comment, but I'll be very brief. We will have, when that comes to a point where there is some specific language, we will have some more specific comments. But we want to thank you for doing the right thing, and I saw there was a lot of pressure up there, and withstanding that pressure, doing the right thing, because you don't have something in front of you at this point that you can act on. You know, this has been right at the top of Ms. Rupp's agenda for quite some time. I think it's been going on for about 8 years. I think everybody wants it to come to an end fairly soon. We just appreciate what you did tonight, and we'll appreciate your thoughtful consideration in the future.
While any agreements are going to be between the developer and the township, I have no heartburn if any proposed agreements are forwarded as a courtesy to that gentleman so that he can have his input, because there's no sense in having an understanding reached between the developer and us and then having input from the neighbor that causes us to have to recreate the wheel. So it makes sense to have him part of it. And I have no problem as we get proposed agreements in. If you give Helen your address and email or whatever, we'll get it to you.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for coming. Next, Helen.
Gary? Karen Newhouse. Terry Ansbach.
Just two comments. I want to thank the township. You guys have been great about supporting the Susquehanna Band concession. We're almost there. So I just want to thank you. It's been a long haul and everything. It's been 2 long years. So Helen, I'm waiting for a piece of paper so I can wash my hands and give it to somebody else at this point. The other thing I just want to thank is also, I think the township does a great job of just keeping up the roads and everything. Even our road itself, the work that's been done on it. You know, I travel a lot of different places, and I just think you guys do a really good job of keeping up with the roads, even the simple things, cleaning up the weeds, even though there's no ordinance, but cleaning up the weeds along the road and everything. I just want to say thanks. That's it.
Thanks. Next, Helen.
And V. Wright.
We used to have an emergency management director. I've got his name.
Paul Soltis.
Paul Soltis.
Is he still around, or is he?
He's still around, and he's still at the point that he'll serve if he's needed, Lee. That's where we stand with that. Okay? He'd like to get away from it, but he'll still be the man that's called to fill in. The last time I talked to him, he's still willing to do that. Okay? Anything else?
That's it, unless I missed somebody.
Is that it?
That's it.
Okay. Invoices and expenditures.
Okay, you have them before you.
Will you take questions from the press? Or was that after? She looked at me like I could.
Well,
Recognition of visitors.
Yeah.
Can you guys just comment on Chief Pickles, where he stands? Is he still working with the department? The reasons behind that, anything like that?
Okay. All those comments in regards to that are referred to our township solicitor to offer a response.
At this juncture, it's a personnel matter that will be handled in executive session. As of this moment, he's still in the police department. He's still active, and there's been no action taken. We're aware that there's a hearing in September, and until that hearing, I'm concerned that anything that's done adverse may be premature, because that hearing is designed to determine the integrity of the allegations, and anything done prior to that time, I think is premature. So at this juncture, any discussions we're going to have are going to be in executive session as their personnel matters.
Is that
That's all.
everybody?
That's everybody.
Okay, this time we'll have the invoices and expenditures before you
Okay, you have
for
them.
approval.
I'd like to just point out that there is a liquid fuels check in there too for
Okay.
your E3 oil.
What is the wish of the board?
Make a motion that the orders be drawn and the bills be paid.
Okay. Motion made with a second. All those in favor give their consent by saying aye. Ayes have it, so ordered.
Okay,
Treasurer's report.
well, let's do the CD real quick.
Okay.
Uh,
It's in there, yes.
We have one capital reserve CD coming due on Monday. Best rates are between Marysville and Mifflintown Bank at 0.35%. That's down from 1.15 from the last 6 months.
Okay, we're currently at Mifflintown?
Yes,
Okay, and Marysville said that they would
Marysville gave us a competitive rate.
give us competitive rate. I'd like to make a motion that we bring it locally here to Marysville for the same rate, transfer it out of Mifflintown into Marysville.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Motion made with a second. All those in favor give their consent by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, ayes have it, so ordered. Helen will make that transfer into Marysville.
Okay. The treasurer's report, I'd like to show you the corrected treasury report from last month with the deposit that was missed.
Okay, now it's corrected.
It's
on the
corrected,
statement,
I
yes.
just need it, I need this approved, Rich?
Yeah.
I need it approved.
Okay. On the correction?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Helen came forward and said, hey, I made a mistake, and she brought it back, and it's corrected, and it's shown in the, on that deposit. I make a
Yes.
motion that we approve that correction in the treasurer's report.
I'll second it.
Motion made with second. All those in favor give their consent by saying aye.
Okay.
Ayes have it, so ordered.
And then you have this month's treasurer's report.
Okay. Before you is this month's treasurer's report for approval or rejection. What is the wish of the board?
I'll make a motion that the treasurer's report be accepted subject to audit.
Okay, motion been made. I'll second. All those in favor give their consent by saying aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it, so ordered. We have the minutes for June 26, 2013 before us. They've been reviewed before the board for rejection or approval or rejection. What is the wish of the board in approval of the minutes for June 26th?
I'll make a motion that the minutes be approved.
Okay, I'll second. All those in favor give their consent by saying aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it, so ordered. Your minutes are approved.
Okay.
Before you have the minutes, you have the highway report I'd like to report that after last month's meeting, I took the road crew, and for under a period of a week, we cut poison hemlock in Penn Township. There's still an awful lot of it out there. We cut at the ramps down here although it was on state right of way, I felt I took it upon myself to cut that, and I cut it across from the Legion there on the bank in there. There's an extreme amount of it in there, extreme amount of it along Schoolhouse Road, still some on private property we can't get into. Some in Hummels Meadow, these people have been notified. There's a massive amount of it over here, and we're going to take a look at next year. I've done some research, and we used to have a spray program in the township, which they've got away from. But today there's products out there that we don't have to have people with a license anymore to spray it that'll take care of this. So we're going to be taking a look at that next year. To catch it in its first year's growth before it seeds, it takes 2 years. If you catch it that first year, well, it's gone. But once it's seed, each plant has about 30,000 seeds in. So we put that in the back of the township truck and put it in the shed, and we left it dry in the heat out there. And no wonder livestock would eat it. It sure smells like the best alfalfa out there once it dries, doesn't it, Tom? And we didn't know what to do with it. We had a pickup truck of it, so I took it down home to the farm and dug a huge hole with the backhoe. We placed it in the hole, we burned it. And we incinerated it, and I took that responsibility to try to get rid of those seeds. I mean, you just can't believe how many was in those stalks until you cut one of them. We cut a lot of others that we didn't. We cut it on Delville Road. We cut it on Hilltop Road in Purdy's. It's just an humongous amount of it around. So it is something that's to be dealt with, you know. We've worked on our road repairs. We've done some road repairs out here in Barracks and so much needed around the place. We've done the butcher shop, the Fouch intersection out here, schoolhouse where we're starting to get alligator cracking in it. We've been working down there doing that. Our biggest project we have within the last month, we cleaned the drainage ditch on Sawmill Road down there, which was filled up about 3 foot over the years. And we got ready and we took a Saturday and replaced that culvert pipe down there. Culvert pipes put in down there now at the present time. We poured a head wall and gave it some space and some opening and put a drain in there that we can catch the water into the pipe instead of it eating the bank away and eroding the road like it has in the past. We have one side done. We pulled out of there and we're going to come back and next week we'll finish the other side with a swale and put it in there and it'll be permanent. No longer have that erosion of the bank and the road falling down in there, which has went on for years and years and years. So we finally got that corrected. I would like to say that I think this will eliminate the pipe clogging down there with what we've done. We seeded around the area of the pipe, and we've got that one done. There's a lot of other culverts to be replaced here, which I'll report. We also, in the past month, we've trimmed the trees in Watershed and Jefferson Street up there. We had some trees that we really had to trim back bad that was growing out over. We have culverts on Watts that are completely eroded through in the bottom. Allender, there's one completely corroded on the bottom. There's one that goes into my place at home and it's been there for many years. It's rusting bad and it actually comes from one field to the other, pawns up my field, but I don't worry too much about it. They don't get through because it dissipates in the ground. But someday the road will go down there and it's one that has to be. And there is plans to be replacing these culverts according to the worst first. And that's what we're trying to do with them, get these metal culverts out one at a time as we've been replacing them right along. Contractor has not submitted a schedule for doing butcher shop, oil and chips. I talked to him today. He said he hasn't forgotten this. He'll get up, he'll review the road project with us before he does, and give us a schedule so that we can notify, get it on the TV, so people know when that work's going to take place out there. And so we'll be notifying everybody that we can. We 550 truck out here that we have, looking it over for inspection and found that we had leaking hydraulic lines. And so we took the liberty and bought lines, and we took a day or two and we replaced all the hydraulic lines on that truck so we're safe. And with that, I was at the point where The line was ready to rupture, it was leaking bad when you tramped on the brakes and we replaced it. I would like to thank Steve and Tom, who's put up with some very, very hot days. And they haven't backed off a bit. They've been out there. And I need to say a word of thanks to them for sticking it out every day. Thanks, Tom and Steve, for the work that you do out there. Ken Mullins, a part-timer, comes out, has worked in here around the rec board also, and comes out, and he's also spent some hot days out there. These guys need a lot of thanks for the job that they do. That's all I have on the highway report. That being complete, we go to the Penn Township Planning Commission.
First thing is setting a hearing date for the comprehensive plan.
Okay. What is the wish of the board? Take a look. Anytime I can make suit into my schedule. Need to get it advertised and get that done. Yes, Lee?
Will the public get to look at that plan prior to the hearing?
They can come in and look at
They
it.
can come in and get it anytime.
Oh, okay,
It's all here.
okay.
That's all been submitted. That was, I think, announced last month.
Yeah.
Okay, yep, comprehensive plan's ready to take a look at. Anybody can come in and review it anytime you want.
You want that in an evening, right? Preferably.
Preferably, yes.
Not the 19th, planning commission.
Right.
Pick a date.
Doesn't matter.
Brian, we'll suit you. Throw a number out there, we'll make it. That's all I can tell you.
Well, how much time do we need to advertise it?
The hearing, 2 times.
30
Okay.
and 30 and 14, I'm sorry.
30 and 14. So let's see. Put it in tomorrow. 2 times. I think that'd be calendar days, right?
So at least 14 calendar days out. Is that right?
Yeah, so the week of the 19th, earliest. That's the 3rd week of the month.
Well,
Monday's
planning
planning
commission.
commission.
Anything that week is fine by me.
No, I don't, try not. I can make it Tuesday evening, but I also have a scheduled appointment in Harrisburg at 11 o'clock Tuesday, but I'll be back for that if you want to go and make it Tuesday or Wednesday. Pick a date. You want to make it the end of the week?
No, make it Wednesday, 21st.
21st?
Time? What time?
What time do you usually have?
6, 7? You guys tell me what time. You want to come in a little at 6? You want to come in at 7?
And what do they run, like an hour? I mean, do you,
It depends on the audience.
is there a,
Huh?
Depends on how many people show up and how many questions.
Yeah.
and
how many-
comments.
Yeah.
I think we should make it 7 o'clock.
Okay.
7 o'clock. Okay, thanks, Brian. Wednesday,
Okay.
21st, 7 o'clock?
Okay.
Okay. See, it's advertised properly.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Underneath the Penn Township Planning Commission, the Warden Properties. that's
We
been
already
taken care
done.
of. Okay. Zoning report before you.
Any questions?
Not much. Okay. Nothing to report on.
No.
Sewage Enforcement Officer report, Duncan Lions Club holding tank contract.
No, that's just renewal.
That's a renewal. I make a motion that we accept the renewal for the Duncan Lions Club, excuse me, for, to advance septic services, take care of that pumping for.
Yeah.
Number
Second
2.
motion.
Motion made with second. All those in favor give their consent by saying aye. Ayes have it, so ordered. Penn Township Park and Rec Board report.
You're up.
I will be having another senior luncheon, August 2nd, starting at 11. And they're going really well. We started out with 5 people, now up to almost 45 every month. so we're doing very well on that. The only question issue I have is, when they were doing the road work out here, when, at the end of Penn Manor, when the road was shut down, they were using the park here as an access to go up to Penn Manor. Is that something that was normally done? Because the residents are saying that it was. But now the problem that I'm having is, which I called Cliff on one, and he went out and put the vehicle there, but got a call and had to leave, and he had cones there, and they were throwing out his cones, so I went and picked them all up, put them behind the police car. Since they've been doing their work, certain residents up there feel this is an in and out, a permanent in and out driving behind the backstop up to their homes up in Penn Manor. Is there any way that we could stop that or have a sign made?
Well, I would urge you not to go there. And you have to consider the people in Penn Manor, when the sewer was put in and the road was shut out completely, Karen, they used that access to get in and out. Now, I know people are impatient, they don't want to sit there and wait till the flagman lets them go through and they run up and down there. But in a couple more days or another week, that road will be paved out there. I'd rather not take issue with the residents that have skipped around it. Some wait, some don't. I don't think they've done any real damage to harm us out there. And in short order, there'll be nobody using that one more time. But they did use that when they put the sewer in on a regular daily basis.
Yeah, that was my question. Did they used to
Yes,
do
they
that?
did, and that was shut off going into Penn Manor, so all the residents in there, and some of them know that, and they done it, now they wanna know why they can't do it again. I feel a lot of questions, a lot of heat about what happened, and so I'm glad you addressed it tonight, because I felt that as quick as it's gonna go away, it's not worth trying to shut them out or get involved with that. And most of them had consideration, they don't get held up too long. And that's all it was, people didn't want to wait till the flagman left them go by.
Okay, that was my first experience of
Yeah.
seeing all these cars coming up and down, and
Yeah.
I'm like, okay.
Yeah, okay.
Yep, that's all I have.
That's okay, thank you. There's one thing I'd like to remark about the Penn Township Park and Rec Board report. For those that don't know, Jim Renner is not very well. And anybody that would take time to stop in and see him or send Jim a card or whatnot, thank him for what he's done around here. He did put an awful, with his illness over the years, he spent an awful lot of time here. He's done an awful lot for the rec board. And to see the illness that's taken over Jim and the conditions he's in now, it's a hard thing to say. So I would urge anybody, send Jim a card saying we haven't forgot about him. He is really, he's not very well.
Yeah, we've, my husband and I, we go over a couple times a week, and we have been taking care of Jim.
Yeah.
And he's pretty much wheelchair bound now.
Yes.
We went and took care of him while he was in the hospital, and I spoke to Helen to see if need be, if some meals could be made to take to the house, because he's having a difficult time now at the medical point where he's at to feed himself.
Yes.
And if he needs to go to the store and picking up, taking him to the restaurant, to the store, whatever he needs. I'll be going over probably this weekend to do some weeding at the house. But just, like you said, Henry, just a phone call or a
Yeah,
letter.
anything would make you feel better. Yes, Stanley, I saw you raise your hand about it.
How are these senior luncheons funded?
By the Park and Rec Board.
By
By
us,
the
the
Park
Park
and
and Rec,
Rec Board?
yes.
Mhm.
Did you ever think of going out and asking any of the businesses if they may fund one a month?
Stanley, would you like to fund this one?
Well, the senior center does that in town.
If you didn't say that, I was going to.
That's no issue, I don't have a problem doing one of them, but
And I want to thank you too for giving us the deal that you did for our community day that we had.
you know, it's a business is for. But yeah, I just thought if you may go around and you may get once a month a business out of the township.
We do put the flyers out.
Well, believe me, they won't fund it if you don't go ask.
Okay, I'll be up to see you tomorrow morning. What time are you
Not a
getting?
problem. Say him.
She may be up.
Anything else
I
under
got
the
up
rec?
at 5:45. No, that's it, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Don't forget Jim if you have a chance, a couple moments to make his life a lot nicer. Penn Township Municipal Authority.
We received a letter from the municipal authority
Yes.
I'll come down to you next week.
in regards to Morrison's hookup.
Okay, yes. Okay, that's all we have on there. Anything else for Cecil? Okay. Secretary's report. We have before us the first item, treasurer applications.
Yes.
We reviewed them, and I think there's agreed upon a selection of 3 out of those to bring in for interviews.
Yep.
I would make a motion that you contact them to see the availability of them, be done with the executive session for the interviews, and get back to supervisors that we can find a date to everybody to do them. Won't take too long to do.
No. No
If we can't get everybody on one night,
I'll try.
we'll try, okay? Put that in form of motion. Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, motion was second. All those in favor give their consent by saying aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it, so ordered.
The next is the request for proposals for the UCC Code third-party agency. We need to do a date to interview them, too.
Okay. How on they're all in now. You have the list of the names, those that have submitted, those are willing to come. Notify them, see what their available dates are, and get back with us so that we can move on with this. We got the end of the year to get this done.
Yes.
Helen, do you have more than 3 on that?
We have Panoni who's agreed to come also. Medical insurance.
Yes. We reviewed our medical insurance, and for us to, we had the work crew in here and all those involved with our agent in regards to it. We were looking at an 8% increase on a renewal for where we're at. We put it out, asked her to take a look at others. We got the same plan out there for, offered by Chrissinger?
Yeah, Geisinger.
Geisinger, excuse me, Geisinger.
Yes.
And I would like to make a motion that that's a minus 2% for
Yeah,
this year.
that's a savings.
That's a savings, okay? By putting it out there, and some of them were as high as, some of them are 35, 40%.
One came back 200% increase.
One came back 200%, which we couldn't believe. So we got the same coverage for Tom was involved, that Steve was involved. I would like to make a motion that we had some questions on that when we met with her. I'd like to make a motion that we bring her back in, review. We have to have this done by the 14th.
Yes.
Review this to make sure with the employees that all those questions that we had are satisfied, that we have the same coverage for the employees for minus the 2% to be approved by the 14th.
Okay. So we want to have her come in what time next week?
Whatever day
'Cause we're
you
getting-
make. I'd like to do it right away, next week. There was just a couple.
About 2:30, 3 o'clock again?
Yeah.
Well, if you want to do it, if she can do it on Monday, the 5th. If you want to do it like 1 o'clock.
Sure can. If Henry can bring the guys in.
Oh, do you want to make it later?
What's that?
Do you want to make it
You
later?
can, you can bring the guys in at 1?
And kind of interrupt
on Monday?
you guys?
Yeah, we'll make it at 1.
Okay.
Get it done.
There'll be lots of questions, won't there, Tom?
Yeah,
2 hours worth of questions, yeah.
No, I think we need to make sure that it's the
You can see
same
that.
plan, so they're saying, but minus 2%. They're willing to provide the same coverage. There were some questions on that I'd like to see answered by her.
Okay.
She said she would get all those and bring it back. So
Yeah.
the proposals were back. So I'd like to
Okay.
do that one, and subject to meeting all of those, that we accept a little bit at that time.
Okay, except Geisinger.
Okay? I made that for a motion. Do I hear a second?
And I will second that.
Okay, motion made with a second. All those in favor give their consent by
Okay.
saying aye.
Now,
Ayes have it.
dental and vision, you want to stay with the same ones? There was a little bit of increase. Where am I here at? On the dental, gosh, it went up $1.55 per person. And
I
then,
think we have 2 employees out here that say they'd like to take the waiver on some of these things.
yeah,
That they wish not us to pay for it because they have no need for it.
yeah,
And
And
so
the-
we'll have to talk about that at that time.
yes. And the vision stayed the same.
Same, okay? Fall cleanup packet.
Now, there's a bid packet. I put the dates as the 17th, 18th, and 19th of October. Same time frame we always done. 4 tires per household. I'm looking for advertising.
Okay, I make a motion to advertise, Ellen, for the fall cleanup.
Second that.
Motion made with second, all those in favor, give their consent by saying aye. Ayes have it, so ordered.
And then, the information about the cap tax meeting that was held on July 17th for you guys. That's all I had.
Okay, engineer report?
All right. You should have a copy of my report. I think we've covered everything in my report, so there's nothing beyond what we've already talked about.
Okay,
Unless you've got questions.
no, I think we got that all covered.
It's already covered.
Police report, Clifford?
Good evening. I just want to say that we've now been over a year where we've been providing police protection to the township and the borough 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We are at a manpower of 2 full-timers and 9 part-timers. We did have a part-timer leave the beginning of July to take a full-time position with Prince George County, Maryland's Police Department. However, I believe he realized in the July heat, at 45 years old, it is not a time to be running in the police academy with a bunch of 21 and 22-year-olds. So he left Prince George County and is back with us. So we are back again, once again, to 9 part-timers and 2 full-timers. All 3 vehicles are all 3 vehicles are in service and being used on a daily basis. We will be assisting the borough on Tuesday night, August 6th, with National Night Out from 6 to 8 p.m. And we don't talk about crimes that have been committed. However, there was one that happened this last month that is just worthy of noting. You've all seen the TV show America's Stupidest Criminals. Well, I don't want to say we just have one stupid criminal here in Perry County, but this specific one stands out. A young lady from Wheatfield Township called in to complain that a girl in Duncannon was harassing her. So one of the officers called her on the department cell phone and got the information about the harassment and actually filed a harassment citation against the young lady in Duncannon. And about 5 minutes after he was done with the call, he got a text from this young lady that wanted to complain about the harasser that she now wanted to buy drugs. So the officer texted her back and said, "Sure, what would you like?" And she placed a list for herself, and then she says, "Oh, wait a minute, my sister wants some too." And she then placed a list via text message to the police phone for her sister. We set up an arrangement to meet down here in Penn Township. The officer went in and took his uniform off and put his plain clothes on, went down and completed the transaction with the original girl, her sister, and her sister brought her boyfriend along, who happened to be a escaped individual from a work release program. So all 3 were arrested, and as the officer was arresting the girl that did the text, she looked at him and says, "I know you. You arrested me before for drugs." So that would be our contribution to America's Stupidest Criminals.
Can't make that stuff up, can you?
You can't.
Thank you, Clifford.
That's right.
Solicitor's report?
I also have one question. Any leads on the burglary in the code, since there was 2 of them?
Not as of this date, no.
Was the PSP crime unit ever called in there to do any fingerprints right after that incident was called in?
Which burglary are you referring to, sir?
The Mullen.
They were not.
How come?
Because once you leave a crime scene, you can't have a crime scene unit come in because you have no chain of custody.
Why wasn't it called right when the officer was there?
Because the officer did not.
Is that a problem at the top that's trickling down, or do we need more training, or what?
No, sir. It was an oversight by the officer, and the officer has been schooled in what should and should not have been done.
Any search warrants issued on that?
No, sir.
How come?
We don't have any probable cause yet to issue a search warrant.
Are you sure?
Positive.
Okay. Just wanted on the record, that's all. Thank you.
Okay, anything else? Hearing none, solicitors report.
All the matters I had, we took care of with the secretary before the convening of the hearing. I have nothing on my report.
Okay, permit reports before you, not much there.
Not much.
Okay. We have the permit report. Correspondence, Westmoreland called.
They're asking if we wish to join their COG again.
Okay?
Perry County Conservation District is announcing that there's dirt road training. The Cumberland Perry County Joint Task Force wants to get together for the whole task force on the 27th here at the township for the discussion on the status of the projects and all that. This would be at 9 a.m. and they used to go 3 hours.
Okay?
The point of contact is Brian.
Yep.
You've never been to one of those. One of the big ones.
Okay, so this would be my first.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mr. Marstello discussed his letter. And then the Perry County Planning Commission sent proposed changes to their subdivision and land development ordinance, for your information.
Okay. Old business, Helen?
Cat tax.
Okay.
This was tabled last month because we didn't know which tax they were talking about. It's the EIT tax, which is our local tax. It wouldn't affect us too much, but it affects the border counties, like Ohio, Maryland borders counties. Cap Tax is recommending that we approve the credit for the taxes paid in another state.
Okay. So we got the information back from them, that's what they.
Yes.
Okay. So I'll make a motion that yes, we approve the credit for the tax paid to another state, that the answer be yes.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion made with a second. All those in favor give their consent by saying aye.
Okay.
Ayes have it, so ordered. Okay.
N-
You have
News-
newsletter and information?
August 9th.
August 9th, okay. New business?
I'm asking to close the office on August 9th at noon. I need to go down to Carlisle Barracks and take care of some personal stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And also on the 14th up until 10 a.m. Come in at 10 a.m. I have a doctor's appointment at 7:45.
Okay. Nothing else on our old business, new business, okay? I'd like to make statements that we have taken a look at our units on the roof up here. We have one with a heat exchanger. They're getting old, 20 years. They provide our air conditioning. And we went out and I met with a couple contractors in here, and we have proposals taking a look at different type of heat for in this building. Individual, maybe for here. Oh, excuse me, do I get rid of that? Sorry about that, folks. Forgot to turn it off. We've taken a look at that up there. We've had them in take a look at our old units. The old units up here are very, very inefficient compared to what we got, and it's time to take a look as they're going bad to maybe provide an alternate up here and get them replaced. Our present heating system is a propane tank down over here, which is piped up to the units on the roof. They are antiquated. I've looked at them. We have a heat exchanger up here that needs to replace the one for the sum of $2,000. Maybe.
I think it's closer to 3. I'd have to look.
Well, the part itself.
Oh, yeah.
For the part itself is almost
$2,000.
$2,000 for that unit. So we took a look at that, and we also went back in, I took a look at our total heating cost in the building in here. And of course, over a period of time, you think that you've got everything covered. It's one that we haven't taken a look at. We found out that we can get our heating cost per month, and what we were filling up and putting in propane, we can get 30 to 35 cents a gallon cheaper elsewhere, which we've never went out for proposal. It was always been Suburban. That's like $350 when they drop fuel out here for us in a month. So, we've talked to the vendor that will supply us new propane over here, but he would have to purchase the tank, or be willing to purchase the tank from Suburban. So, in order to try to cut our heating costs in here and to get the best price by out here on propane and taking a look at the units, I would like to ask the board to allow me to continue on taking a look at this till we can get some prices up here and see what we got.
What is this price on propane?
Clifford, do you remember, you happened to be here, what was it on per gallon? It was 30 to 35 cents cheaper than what we
Yes,
pay. What do you
we're
pay
paying
now?
181, I think it came out.
Wasn't this a CoStar purchase?
No,
No.
it hadn't been. It was something that was put in and maintained since the initial installation.
No, I mean the new price, wasn't the new
No,
price?
No.
CoStar?
no, sir, not a CoStar price. What was it, what were you paying for it on
We're
there?
paying 181 per gallon.
181 per gallon at the present time.
And he said he can come in 35 cents cheaper.
Yeah, they come in 35 cents cheaper.
I'm at 159, I own my own tanks.
Yeah, and that's what happens here. If we own our own tanks, you know, then we got the responsibility of them. We have to have them tested every so often and et cetera. But this other vendor is willing to purchase those tanks and he has the responsibility.
Yeah, they're owned by Suburban.
Suburban, and he can purchase them from Suburban. But if they purchase them out here with the years and the age that they've been in out here, nobody knows whether they got cathodic protection, what was put on them, what was done to them. Nobody has any idea. And I think you'd be better off to let them purchase them, let them maintain and test the tanks so that we don't have to bother with them. But you're still looking at 35 cents a gallon cheaper than what we were getting before. So we're looking around, trying to come up with, be a big savings over a period of a month. I mean, a period of a winter. I mean, you have 3 months worth of those type of savings on propane up here, pay for the heat exchanger if you decide to stay with what you're at. Automatically would take care of it. So we're taking a look at that, and I'd like to ask the board to allow me to try to get the contractors in here. We discussed different heating things, and continue on taking a look at it to see if we can't get something better than what we have in here at the present time. Technology's come a long ways in heating in the last 20-some years. And what's up here is there's units a lot more efficient, even propane, than what we have up here at the present time. We looked at heat pumps and everything all the way around. So that's what I asked for, to continue on that. I took that upon myself, looking for ways to cut and get prepared for our new budget this year. To see wherever we can save $1, we try to save $1.
I'll make a motion that we allow Henry to continue to pursue the heating and air conditioning.
Okay? And that's no decision to be made, that's only to allow me to continue on to do that, to spend some time on it.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, motion made with a second. All those in favor give their consent by saying aye.
Aye.
And I thank you for that. We'll continue to work on that and see if we can't get a better deal on the heat here in the building. Okay, I
Copier.
have nothing else underneath.
Copier.
Oh, the copier, yes, Helen, I do have that. Helen's, the copier that we have over here has been here a long time, used heavy. They can hardly repair it anymore.
They can't. They can't.
And having a lot of problems with it over there. I make a motion that we give Helen permission to go out and get proposed bids on for an equal to what we have over here, to see whether we want to lease or whether we want to purchase another copier.
And the police are also looking.
Okay, you got the same problem.
Well, not the same problem, but they have a problem.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion that we allow them to go take a look at those costs.
I'll second that.
Motion made with a second. All those in favor give their consent by saying aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it, so ordered. Yes, Stanley?
When you guys get down to the Penn, or the Morrison thing under Penn Township Municipal Authority, it's important enough to put on the agenda, but it was skipped right over. Is there something more on there? Or?
No, only that they submitted a letter to us and Helen put it on the agenda, and it's a matter of the time frame that he was giving. They have notified us that Morrison hadn't done anything in the time frame, and it was a matter of question as who's the enforcer on it. And I think Rich took a look at it. It's the authority, Stanley.
The authority wrote to us saying they'll undertake the enforcement.
Yeah, it was correspondence. I'm sorry about that. That didn't come out, but that's what it is.
Is that hooking up to the sewer over at Kincor?
Yeah, that's what it is over there, you know, I mean, that was the agreement they made in order for him to keep his building open.
Correct.
Okay.
I remember the meeting.
Yeah, okay, and that's what that's about. So, he claims they're working on it, and they have to work that out over there. Okay?
Yep, thanks.
Nothing else on our older new business, I make a motion, we adjourn.
Second that.
Motion made second, all those in favor, give themselves saying aye. Ayes have it, meeting adjourned. Thank you, Richard.